My prayer this morning is that within these walls we'll sense the presence of the Lord and hear his voice. It's an honor for me to preach to you this morning, as it always is. Thank you, Pastor. But to preach with the smell of turkey in my nostrils is rather difficult, so I'll try and get through this quickly so that you can enjoy the lunch that's being prepared for us. I want to begin by telling you a story. Shared this with the first crowd, and I'll share it with this crowd. It concerns a pastor and his family who decided to purchase a new kitten for the family, which they did. The kitten at first was rather doleful and took a little time settling into the home, but after a little while he got very playful, and the kids enjoyed having him there, and when it was time, they took him outside. And to their consternation, he decided that he was going to climb a nearby tree, which he did, and he got onto one of the first branches, and as he stood there, the kitten that is, he realized that he couldn't get down. And the family realized that as well, so they thought, what are we going to do to get this kitten down from this tree? And they debated for a long time, and their father was there, and he said, I've got an idea. He said, it's not a high branch, and he said, I've got a rope in my pickup truck, and what we'll do is I'll throw the rope over the branch, and I'll attach it to the trailer hitch in my pickup truck, and slowly, ever so slowly, I'll pull on the branch, and when it's close enough, you can get the kitten down, problem solved. So they all thought it was a great idea. And so he got his rope, pulling up the pickup truck close enough to attach it, and slowly, ever so slowly, he began to drive forward, and the branch was coming down ever so nicely. But just before it got within plucking range of the children, guess what happened? The rope snapped, and the elasticity in that branch flung it back, and the kitten went flying through the air, never to be seen again. Now, you laugh. It's not the end of the story. About 3 weeks later, Pastor was visiting a home in his church family, and he knocked on the door, and the lady of the house came, and at her feet was a kitten. And he thought, looks familiar. I didn't know they had a cat in this family. And so he thought, well, I hadn't better say anything because it probably isn't ours, and they just got a cat. So he got taken into the sitting room, and they were sitting over a cup of tea and a biscuit, a cookie. And so he looked at the wife, and he said, I didn't know you had a cat. Oh, she said, Pastor, there's a story behind this cat. She said, for a long, long time, my son has wanted a cat, but I don't like cats. And so I said, no cats in this house. But he kept on and on and on. One day we were out in the yard, and he was going on about a cat. I want a cat. And she said, stop. I'm going to tell you what to do. To end this once and for all, I want you to get down on your knees, and I want you to pray to God to give you a cat now. If he does, you can keep it. If he doesn't, end of story. Agreed? He said yes. He got down on his knees, and he prayed that God would send him a cat. Plop! A cat landed in his lap. God answered. Did he? Or was it a coincidence? You see, not everything is as it seems, is it? The mother thought God had answered her prayers. The pastor knew the true story. Not everything is as it seems. But you know, I'm making a discovery in life, nor is everyone as they seem. We all make very big declarations about who we are. We say we're Christians. We say we love the Lord. We say we're ready for heaven. But when it comes down to it, are we who we are meant to be? A few weeks ago, I preached a sermon on cheap grace, and after preaching that sermon, I was very challenged about my own life. Am I who I declare myself to be? You know me as Pastor David. You commend me and so on. But I know myself and God knows myself. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm not the real thing all the time. In fact, I'm ashamed of some of the things that I say and do. And I'm very challenged as I stand before you this morning to think that not everyone is who they say they are. That's why for a few moments this morning, I want to talk to you about being authentic, about being real. Our gospel reading was from Mark chapter 12. It begins with Jesus teaching in the temple courts, and he emphasizes the Pharisees that were around them, how they were living, how they were dressed, the seats of honor that they wanted, what they were giving, and so on. And he did that because so many of them were not real. They made out to be real, but it was a charade. And he was very challenged by that. And those who were listening to him, I think they were challenged as well, but they were pleased that he addressed an issue that was concerning to them, because in verse 37, it simply says this: the large crowd listened to him with delight. But I'm sure some of them were challenged as well. You see, what Jesus was saying is, it's so easy to be on show. It's so easy to make out we're something that we are not. It's so easy to make our faith all about us, that we're the most important person. It's so easy for it to be externals, but there's no inward change. In contrast to that, he draws attention to the treasury, where people were bringing some large sums of money, and then he points out a little widow lady. She did not have much, a few cents, the translation of the NIV says, but she gave it all, simply, silently, but displaying a genuine faith, because as we will see in a moment, she gave everything out of love for Jesus. Let's go back to these contrasts for a moment between the Pharisees, the teachers of the law, and the widow lady. And the contrasts are noticeable between the authentic and non-authentic, between the real and the unreal. For example, the teachers of the law drew attention to themselves, and as they gave, or as they walked around, or as they got the best choice seats in the temple, they were saying, "Look at us." I challenged myself, do I want people to listen to me? Do I want people to see me? Is it all about me? My friends, if it is this morning, then I'm failing you. Because if I draw attention to myself in the messages that I preach, I should be drawing attention to Jesus. The contrast of the widow lady was her attention was on God. And if you do not see God and hear from God this morning, I am letting you down. I'm not the real thing. The second contrast, they loved the praise of others. They love to be patted on the back. Oh, you're doing well. Oh, look how fine you look. Oh, look what you've given. Oh, the temple is going to benefit. They wanted praise. If what I want when I preach is for you to say good sermon or something like that, then I failed. If I don't challenge you or point you to a closer relationship with God, which is opening the Word of God is all about, then I'm letting you down. I don't want the praise of others because, well, it's empty. It's useless to me. It's not what I should be about. The widow lady came quietly so as not to draw attention to herself. Yet Jesus noticed. There are some things that are worth being noticed, and anything that's done for God is. But then look at the contrast. The teachers of the law were all about external show. Did you notice the reading there in Mark 12? They loved fine clothing. Got them noticed. They loved the best seats in the house. It's my seat. Got them noticed. They loved to give large amounts on show. Got them noticed. This little lady came and she brought very quietly and simply everything that she had, showing not externals, her finery, but an internal faith that put God first in everything that she did. So here's the challenge. Am I false or am I real? That's a challenge to me. Is what I do for show? Is it authentic? Is it real? What do I mean by that? Well, let's go back to Mark 12. Let's look at the teachers of the law again, and let's see what the picture of non-authentic faith really looks like. First of all, non-authentic faith is centered or is self-centered. It's centered on me. What I want, when I want it. You know, that's how I make church these days. Has to please me. Preaching has to be good. The music fitting my style. The people friendly. It's all about me. We've gone off the rails with church these days because it's not all about me. It really is all about Jesus. It's not where I sit that's important. It's not my being noticed or how I dress that's important. That's self-centeredness. I'm not real if that's my emphasis. Non-authentic faith, secondly, has a worldly focus. What can this world give me? What can God give me? There's a teaching out there today called wealth and prosperity, and some people have this idea that God is like, and I excuse the term, a sugar daddy. I can demand from him what I want. Give me, give me, give me. You know, Christians today are getting a little bit like the seagulls in the film Nemo. Mine, 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 mine. No, my friends. Whatever blessing God has blessed you with is not yours, it's his. And you only have it because he's blessed you with it. So non-authentic Christianity is where I demand and I keep and I say, it's mine. You see, it's all about what God can do for me these days. And thirdly, non-authentic Christianity is externally noticed, draws attention to me. I've been around a long time. I can remember when I first became a pastor. In those days in England, you wore the reverse collar. We called it a clerical collar. And I remember just before my ordination, mine came in the mail and I wanted to wear it out. So I went down to the mall and paraded around in my clerical collar. Why did I do that? I wanted to be noticed as a 22-year-old that I was a pastor, that I was a goody two-shoes. And I really wasn't. And I'm ashamed to tell you that's what I did now. But we do that. We do that in our lives and we do that in church. We make ourselves to be something that I am not really. I want to draw attention to me. Jesus put it this way in Matthew 6:5, and when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray, standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen of men. Jesus said, when you pray, go to the quiet place alone. Because it's not about what they see out there. It's about what God sees in here. That's non-authentic Christianity, but there's a contrast to that. And the contrast is a genuine faith. Let me say this, and if you hear nothing else today, please hear this. Authentic faith is all about Jesus. Being real is all about him. So first of all, authentic faith draws attention to God. You will notice that this widow did not draw attention to herself. She came silently. She stood back. It was between her and God. Your worship this morning is between you and God because He knows your heart. My preaching this morning is between me and God because He knows my heart. It doesn't matter what you see or hear, it matters what He sees in this man this morning and in you. Authentic faith draws attention to God. Secondly, it is from the heart. What I am begins on the inside. It's not about externals. Oh, it will radiate through me. But if my heart isn't changed, I am not real. If I don't have a heart to know God, I'm not real. If He doesn't live at the core of my being, no matter what I say to you or how I preach to you, it isn't real. And authentic faith is not only about Jesus and from the heart, but it's what can I give to God? You see, what's important is not what God can give to you. God answers prayer, God blesses us, and God has blessed us more than we deserve, but that's not the purpose of knowing Jesus. It's about a surrendered life. It's about taking up the cross and following Him. It's about my life, totally devoted to Him. If He gives me nothing other than a cross, it's what I can give to Him. The widow lady brought it all, and she gave 100% of everything to Him. I'm old enough to remember the days of Coca-Cola coming to Great Britain. In those days, it was in a glass bottle with a flip-top lid. But I remember one of the first advertisements. It said simply this: the real thing. There was no substitute, no other sodas or the trash that we used to drink that called itself a soda was not the real thing. Am I the real thing for Jesus? Am I what I should be at 78 years old? Am I really where I need to be spiritually in view of eternity? I've done this job for over 50 years. But am I genuine? Oh, I failed. I've let God down many times. And unfortunately, I still do. But my prayer this morning is that I'll be real. And I realize, like the widow lady, to be real, it needs to come out of love. Let me share with you as I conclude 3 things about her love. First of all, the evidence of her love. It really wasn't what she gave. She only had a few cents. Compared to those around her who gave mighty wealth, she gave nothing really. But what she did give was with purpose, to show her love for Jesus. You see, I believe this morning if I'm going to be in love with Jesus, what I give to Him needs to be evidence of that love, and I need to give Him everything. Jesus drew attention to this woman, and she says she's given everything. I wonder if Jesus were here this morning, would He draw attention to you as somebody who'd given everything to God? But not only is there the evidence of her love, there is the extravagance of it. Mark 12 says this, Jesus speaking, they, teachers of the law, gave out of their wealth, but she gave out of her poverty. Let me repeat this. It's not what God can give you. It's what you can give God. And this morning, if God gives you nothing, are you still willing to give, as one preacher said, until it hurts? Because I've not given anything until it hurts me to give. The evidence, the extravagance, the extent of her love. Authentic faith is far-reaching. It will touch and change other people. I look at this widow lady. This is over 2,000 years ago when Jesus spoke these words. She did not realize, and she had no idea, as she stood there at the temple treasury, giving a few coins, that over 2,000 years later, on November the 10th, 2024, that I would be standing here in a country yet unknown, preaching about her. You see, that's real faith. The faith that lasts long after I'd gone, the testimony that's shared that is life-changing in the lives of others. I don't need to say anything, I shouldn't need to say anything, without impacting the life of somebody else. You see, authentic Christianity, the real thing, has a far greater impact than you and I can ever imagine. I need to take the attention off me. And I need to put it on Jesus. I need to let people see him rather than see me. There's a verse in Acts chapter 4 and verse 13 that has challenged me for years, and I was reminded of it the other day when I was penning this message, and this is what it says. When they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized that they were unschooled, ordinary men, they were astonished. And they took note that these men had been with Jesus. You don't have to be somebody special. You don't have to have lots of gifts and graces. You can just be as ordinary as the next man for people to see Jesus in you. So here's the challenge. Authentic? Real? I need to be, if you're going to see Jesus in me.